I'm not crying at the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. You're crying. All right, I'll admit I was crying. I was crying. I mean, was that so hard, Disney? Was that so hard? 3 movies, all of this fighting, all of this bullshit. Was it so hard to just do that? How's it going, everybody? This is Phil, and this is the review, the recap, the spoiler for Season 2 of The Mandalorian, the finale, Episode 8, Chapter 16, entitled The Rescue. And if you have not seen this episode, which I can't imagine if you're here watching my channel, not too many people do anyway, but if you are here, you have not seen this episode, I beg you, I implore you, shut this video off, close down your social media, go and watch this episode. Do not spoil it, do not ruin it for yourself. Because the ending is just, it blew me away. I don't even want to really review the rest of the episode. I just want to talk about the ending, but I guess we'll try to blow through this as quickly as possible so we could just get to the greatest thing I've seen in a long time. So this episode opens up with Slave One pursuing an Imperial shuttle, and on that shuttle is Dr. Pershing, which I believe is his name, and they are able to board the ship and then apprehend the Doctor, and from there they move on to another location where they get Bo-Katan and Koska after a little bit of a scuffle between Boba Fett and Koska. Eventually, the Mandalorian's like, look, we know where Moff Gideon is. He's got the Darksaber. If you help us get the child back, Darksaber's yours. You can take his light shuttle transport and, use that in your quest to regain Mandalore. So they decide that they're going to go along for the ride. From there, they concoct a scheme with the aid of the Doctor, just kind of supplying information about Moff Gideon's shuttle, and they are essentially going to stage a chase where Slave One will look like it's firing upon the shuttle. The shuttle will radio in for help, and they will then enter the ship kind of like a Trojan horse through the launch. There's a launch tunnel where they will launch TIE fighters in support of the shuttle. So they enact this plan. They're able to get on the ship, and then the girls get it done. They make their way through the ship, just taking out all of the stormtroopers. I don't know what happened to Bo-Katan's, the other guy that was with them, the dude. I don't know, maybe he ate some bad chowder on Trask and he had the squirts. I have no idea, but all of a sudden he's absent in this episode. So the girls move through the ship, they get it done, and Mando makes his way towards the child. And at one point he comes across Moff Gideon. When he realizes that this is all a ruse, he activates the Dark Troopers. The Dark Troopers take some time to actually get online. As the Mandalorian is making his way past their cell, they start to make their way towards the door. He tries to close the door on them. One of them is able to get through. He fights it, has a real tough time with it while the others are trying to punch their way through the door. He's able to finally take the one Dark Trooper out, with the others just about ready to get through the door, and he releases an airlock door and just blows all of the Dark Troopers out into space, and it's just like, all right, there they go. Which I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cheap, and you would think that they would survive anyway. They have jets. They don't need air for anything. But he continues to make his way to the cell. As the rest of the team, they get up to the bridge. Moff Gideon isn't there. Mando gets into the cell, and there's Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, holding it above Baby Yoda's head. They have an exchange. Moff Gideon pretty much plays Mando for a fool, says he can see the bond between the both of them. He'll allow him to have the child if he lets him go with the Darksaber. So Mando goes ahead, and then of course Moff Gideon double crosses him, and they engage in a one-on-one battle. The Mandalorian with his Spear of Beskar and the Darksaber. I mean, that Beskar is it's the adamantium of the Star Wars universe. I wonder who would win in a fight. Wolverine with adamantium fused to his bones, or Wolverine with Beskar fused to his bones. That would be a great what if fan fiction to see. So anyway, the Mandalorian is able to best Moff Gideon. They make their way back up to the bridge. Mando with the Darksaber, and then Moff Gideon says that, Bo-Katan cannot accept the Darksaber because she needs to win it in a battle, and Mandalorian is basically like, I yield. Moff Gideon's like, that's not how it works. It's not the Darksaber that holds the power, it's the story. And then we get the standoff, and I'm thinking to myself, like, these two are gonna fight, like, and the whole time, like, the episode's been okay, but it hasn't been anything great. You see the Dark Troopers, they return to the ship, they're boarding the ship, and they're making their way back up to the bridge, and they're gonna barrel through these doors. And they start pounding on them with their fists, and they're going to take everybody out. Everyone is basically sitting there in a ready position. And that's when we get a lone X-Wing coming through. And everyone, I know what I was thinking. Holy shit, it's Trapper Wolf. No, it wasn't. I wasn't thinking. Actually, I did for a second. I was like, this better not be Trapper Wolf. Like, that would be pretty lame. And then they're not radioing back, and then you see somebody start walking through the hallways in a dark cloak, and I'm like, okay, who is this? Is this Ahsoka? Is it, like, because you're thinking, like, there's no way they're gonna do Luke. Like, could they possibly do it? Maybe it's Ezra. Like, who is this? And then they did a good job in kind of revealing, like, just pulling back the curtain a little bit by little bit, right? You get the X-Wing, then you get the view of them from the back on camera walking down the hallway with the black cloak like Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, and then you get him on the security camera, but it's in black and white, so when he's swinging a lightsaber you don't see the color of it. And then they get to that one bridge area and he comes into screen and he's got the green lightsaber, and that's when I shit myself. I was like, no, you gotta be kidding me. And he's taking down all of these Dark Troopers, and he's working his way through the hallway, and he gets up to that last hallway outside of the bridge, and he's mowing down the final bit of the Dark Troopers that are in his way, and he's splitting them in half, and he's taking them apart, and he takes that one last one, and he just crushes it with the Force. And then they're left in the bridge, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And Mandalorian's like, open up the door. Fennec Shannon's like, are you crazy? And he opened the door, and you see Luke, or you see this figure. The door opens, and there's this mist, and it's very reminiscent of Rogue One, the scene with Darth Vader, where he kind of mows down all the rebels, right? And then he, when his lightsaber ignites at the end of the hallway, and he's cutting everybody down, and it reminded me of that. And he walks in through the door, and there's like this moment of like anticipation, like, are we really gonna see Luke Skywalker again? And he just pulls up the hood, and it's just like, holy shit. It was such a moment that I had no idea, like, I just didn't think that they were going to do. I was speechless, like kind of like what I'm going through right now. It's like so much emotion, and it wasn't Sebastian Stan like some people thought they might do if they bring Luke Skywalker back. And I don't know. They said Mark Hamill, they credited him. I don't know if that's because they used his likeness and they put it over. I believe there was a double, and then they kind of deep faked it, but I'm not sure. Like, there's been some theories, and there's been some people who said one thing, some people said another thing. I don't know what the actual information is in regards to how they did it. You can tell it was because it was a little uncanny looking, but it was Luke. It was Luke Skywalker, a few years removed from Return of the Jedi as a Jedi Knight, and it was so cool. It was so cool to see. It was so satisfying to finally get Luke Skywalker, back on screen the way you kind of always wanted to see him. So he has an exchange with the Mandalorian, and Luke's like, come on, little one. And, Mando's like, he doesn't want to go with you. And he's like, well, he's waiting for your permission. And then Mando picks him up and he has this one-on-one, heart-to-heart. And he's like, this is, he's your kind. It's okay. You can go with him. You'll be safe. And Baby Yoda reaches out to him and touches his helmet. And then Mando takes off his helmet and allows, Baby Yoda to see his face. And it's a nice little touching moment. I mean, this episode at the end, it's kind of standard issue. And then at the end, boy, does it hit you with the feels and the nostalgia and just like everything. I mean, it was just like one thing after another. And you get like that, it's this sad goodbye. And then, he puts Baby Yoda down and then Baby Yoda's looking up at him. He's like hugging his leg. And then he turns around to walk to Luke, and then you hear R2-D2, and R2 comes into the scene, and you're just like, I don't know if I could take much more of this right now. It's just too much. So, and the Baby Yoda, he walks up to R2, and one of the things that I thought was really cool was, Luke wasn't around during Order 66, or even before that, but R2, he was around during the Clone Wars and Phantom Menace and like that whole era, of the prequel era. So he was at the Jedi Temple, and it stands to reason that R2-D2 recognizes Baby Yoda, recognizes Grogu, and Grogu looks up at him kind of like he recognizes him as well. And R2 seems like he's happy to see him because he starts doing his little happy dance, and it's like they're having a reunion. I mean, that's the way that I read it as far as those two characters were concerned. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Luke picks him up. He tells the Mandalorian, "May the Force be with you." And then he walks away, and they make their way down the hallway, and then they stand in the elevator, and R2 rolls in behind him, and he turns around, and it's just Luke and R2 and Grogu, and the door shuts, and that's the end of the episode. Man, I mean, like I said, it's kind of standard. Like 3/4 of the episode is like, all right, this is a solid episode. Like, where's this gonna go? Like, what's gonna be the big end? Like, what's the big reveal? What's the big cliffhanger? And then they get to that last part with Luke, and it is so mind blowing for a fan of Star Wars, for a long time fan of Star Wars. People who grew up with this character. I mean, as far as on-screen heroes, Luke is one of the top heroes, in probably cinematic history. I mean, for me, he's one of my favorite all-time heroes, and he embodies so many things, and so many ideologies of hope and never letting up and always believing in your friends and just trying and being earnest and doing what's right and facing down danger, and believing in those that you love, despite the fact that they might be lost. You always feel like there's a way to bring them back, and you don't give up on the ones that you care about. There's such purity in that character, and spent the last 5 years feeling like there was so much opportunity blown with what they did with, I really don't want to get into it, but with that sequel trilogy and what they did to, especially in The Last Jedi, it was such an insult to so many fans, and you can see the reaction online to people who are in tears. I was in tears. I mean, I didn't record it, but I was literally in tears and sniffling watching. I get emotional just thinking about it. Just watching the end of this episode, it really was so exciting. I felt like I was 8 years old watching Return of the Jedi in the movie theater, and just seeing my hero on screen, larger than life, just vicariously living through him, and feeling like a hero myself, and like, there's nothing you can't do in this world, and forces of good can be strong and can be powerful and can stand up to anything. You know, any dark force, you can overcome it if you believe in yourself and you do the right thing and you stand by your friends and you make the right decisions and you know, these characters and the character traits that they have. Luke is a great character because of his character traits. Not because he fits any kind of specific demographic. It's what he means. It's what he embodies as a hero. And I think that's really important. And I think somewhere along the way that got lost. So that became not cool to be a hero that you can look towards and lean on and know that he's consistent. And it became more of this idea of, wouldn't it be great if we took Luke and we made him the eternal optimist and turned him into this awful, nihilistic, grumpy hermit who just sucks green milk out of a sea cow's tit. and it didn't work. It doesn't work. And you can see this works. This character, what he is about, what he embodies, and what the fans want him to be. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting your heroes to be heroes. And this was such a satisfying conclusion to this series, for at least this season. I don't know where they go from here. And this felt like a satisfying conclusion to just this whole entire mess that's taken place over the last few years with all the fans fighting and to finally get to see Luke after all of this time on the screen the way that a lot of fans, a majority of the fans, thought that they were always going to see him when he was brought back. It's so satisfying, and it feels like vindication. And Disney's got to be taking notes. They have to be. I mean, with something like this. And you know what? I gotta say, man, this episode was written by Jon Favreau. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this gift and giving the fans who felt like me all these years this gift. Thank you for giving us back Luke. It means a lot. It really does. You know, I couldn't be happier. So, where do we go from here? I mean, I said recently that, you know, this show doesn't necessarily need Grogu to be a part of it for us to have further adventures of the Mandalorian. I think that there's a lot of stories that we can tell, and there's a lot of adventures for the Mandalorian to continue to have. I think sky's the limit if they're able to just stay focused and keep their eye on the ball. I know there's a lot of shows that are coming out now and a lot of movies because the Mandalorian is such a hit, and they backdoor piloted all of these other shows, and there's all of these things that are now coming out, and I'd hate to see them fall back into too much Star Wars too fast, which is what happened with the sequel trilogy and everything. They were just trying to cram and push out and merchandise and everything. I understand it's a business, but you know, it's you can lose a part of your soul when you chase dollar signs, you know, and I mean, that's, I guess, at the end of the day, all it is really about. But you know, when you have people like Jon Favreau come in and they're trying to tell a story, and they're fans, and this material, this subject matter, these characters, they mean as much to them or to him as they do to us. That comes across in the show, and it comes across in the stories that you try to tell. And there's clunky dialogue, and there's The Mandalorian isn't perfect, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's really enjoyable. And I think they went above and beyond today with this episode, and I really couldn't be happier. I mean, I got on the horn with friends and I told them, stay away from social media. Don't do anything. No Twitter, no YouTube, no Instagram, no Facebook. Just watch this show and just, you'll thank me. And then make sure you sit through the credits, because we did get the post-credit scene, and we're going to get the Book of Boba Fett. I loved it. I loved them going back to Jabba's palace. I thought that was awesome. Bib Fortuna was I mean, he looked like he was a couple of cheeseburgers away from almost turning into Jabba the Hutt himself. And then he gets taken out. The voice wasn't perfect. He looked good though, but he could have been a little bit more spot on. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad Bigfoot tuner. I haven't seen him, on screen in a while, so that was pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to it. I laughed. I chuckled at that scene. I thought it was pretty cool. And Boba Fett, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I mean, he works great as a good guy, but he might be happy as the head of a crime syndicate, and that just works fine for him. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that story. And that is, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm so it's kind of hard to sort through my thoughts because I'm just so hyper fixated on the end of this episode. And the funny thing is, today is December 17th. It is the 5-year anniversary of The Force Awakens, and it's funny how, just ironic how that everyone was in such anticipation of Luke Skywalker returning to the screen. I mean, we were going to pick up Star Wars and tell the tale of all these characters that we loved so much from the original trilogy, and Han was coming back, and Leia, and Chewie, and R2, and C-3PO, and we're going to get Luke. What is going to happen when Luke finally arrives? And nothing happens. he's on the edge of a cliff, and it's a cliffhanger, and it's kind of a nice little, it puts a bow on everything of like where we went down this kind of dark path with the character of Luke Skywalker and them not knowing what to do with him. And then today we get an episode in a television show where they knew exactly what to do with them, and it's so poetic. And it feels really good. It just feels like vindication and of everything that we've been saying and pounding our chest and saying that's not Luke, this was Luke. So thank you, Jon Favreau. Thank you, Dave Filoni. Thank you, Mark Hamill. I mean, this portrayal of that character had to feel so good for him. He had to love it. I'd love to hear his opinion on the end of this season and what he thought about that scene. I think, this character is as dear to him as it is to a lot of us as fans, and I think he had to be overjoyed to see his character come back and be hopeful. This is Luke Skywalker, not Jake Skywalker. This is Luke Skywalker. So it's good to see. I'm happy for Mark Hamill. He might not have necessarily been there on screen in the way that he was in the sequels, but that's his character, and that's his Luke, and that's our Luke, and it was good to reconnect with our Luke once again, and I'm happy that Mark was Jesus. These actors, one by one, they're slipping away. Mark doesn't seem like he's going anywhere for a while, but I'm happy that somebody took the bull by the horns, Jon Favreau, and wrote this into something that they were going to shoot. And I think that was important. I think that was important to Mark. I don't think he liked the way this character went out the last time that we saw him on screen. And I think this is a far more fitting end if this is the end, and maybe we'll see him again. This blows the door wide open for a lot of possibilities, it's hard to get behind Disney after everything that they did, but the things that Favreau has done, in my opinion, are worth being excited about, and anything that he kind of has his finger on or his stamp or his name is attached to, I'm interested in. And I said when they first announced The Mandalorian, maybe a couple of years from now there'll be Disney's Star Wars and there'll be Favreau's Star Wars, and here we are 2 years later, and I'm pretty happy with Favreau's Star Wars. So that's pretty much it, man. So let me know what you guys think down below. And this is, I mean, I'm still thinking about it. Like I get the chills. I get emotional. You can hear it in my voice. I'm just so happy to have my hero back. At least for 5 minutes. Like Christmas came early this year. So let me get the hell out of here before I look like a big man baby on camera in front of you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing and like the video. It does help out with the channel. I appreciate everyone who comes here and comments and likes. It's always fun having a conversation with you guys. I really do appreciate it. So until next time, I will talk to you guys pretty soon. Be happy, be safe, be healthy. Have a good evening, guys, and may the Force be with you. Bye.